I might have to split this into two parts, part 1 and part 2, because obviously the first part is already long enough. So this is part 2, and this part right here involves police car, flat tires, tow trucks, shady tow truck drivers, hotel rooms. Like, why was this happening? I don't know. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and this is part 2 of my labor and delivery story, and this is the part of us going home and making that journey home. And if you are new to my channel and you have not seen part 1, go watch part 1 first. This part 2 will make more sense. And if you would like to see more of my videos, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. And yeah, let me just get into the story for this part 2. So in part 1, I mentioned how everything was great. I gave birth on Friday. By Sunday, they were releasing me, and I was ready to go. So anyway, one eyelash on. Where's my other one? Oh, here it is. All right, so part 2. So we're all good to go. We say our goodbyes. Kai's dad and his other grandma, they live far away. They live in a different city. So they were going their ways, and my mom and I were going with the baby, coming back to our house here. And my dad had already left the night before because he had to work. So everything's good. We're all packed to go. Baby's in the car, and we're headed home on this journey home. And we leave the hospital around 3 p.m. because that's when they were releasing me. And maybe like 3:10, 3:15, we're in the car going. We start driving, everything's going good. We're getting far, we're thinking. Then all of a sudden, we are going this way, and I was like, oh, Mom, let's take this way. It was a shortcut, I know that, shoot. So don't take no shortcut. But there was traffic on the freeway, and I was like, let's go this way. There's no traffic this way. It says we'll get home a lot faster, and I just really wanted to get home. So we go that way, and there's a part where you cross like railroad tracks. We go past the railroad tracks, and all of a sudden we hear this noise. And then as we're going, the noise is just getting louder and louder, and then the tire light comes on, and it was like, uh-oh. We pulled over. My mom gets out to take a look because I just had a C-section. I was sitting in the back with the baby. I could barely move. And so she checked it, and this tire was flat. Like, it just was, we had a flat tire. And I'm like, why is this happening? Why would this happen right now? We barely got past the hospital, like not even like half hour into the drive, like maybe 15, 20 minutes into the drive. So this was around like 3:30. We get a flat tire. Okay, it's fine. Everything's cool. We have a spare tire that actually we had made sure was like good before we left. Yeah, I have to concentrate when I put on eyelashes because they are the first to look crazy besides eyebrows. So we're calling AAA. We have AAA. AAA comes. Oh, we call them, and they're like, oh, all right, we can have a driver over there, but it's going to be about 45 minutes. And we were like, 45 minutes? We have a 2-day-old baby in the car. Can you guys please just, like, you know, keep that in mind? They said, okay. And 40 minutes passed. My mom's like, they still haven't called to say they're close. My mom's like, let's call them back. We called AAA again, and they're like, oh, okay, let me try and get a hold of the driver. Okay, we'll call you. They said they'll give us a call back. Couldn't get a hold of the driver. They call back, and like, we're so sorry. It looks like the driver canceled that call. We had to call another tow truck to come, and that's going to be another 50 minutes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, at this point now, Kai was born in November, so it was already getting dark. Like, so we had the flat tire around 5:30. At this point, an hour had gone by, so it was like 4:30, and now they're saying another hour. It was going to be like another 5:30. So okay, after a half hour, my mom's like, let's call them again. And she just was not. She's like, we need to keep reminding them that we have a 2-day-old baby. And we kept reminding them, and they're like, oh yeah, we're so sorry. We're gonna have someone out there, you know, we're gonna do our best. All right. Anyway, turns out they couldn't get a hold of that driver again too, so they had to send another driver, and the ETA for this driver was gonna be like maybe like 6 o'clock. So from 3:30 to 6 o'clock, we're just like, and so finally my mom's like, hey, we've been calling you guys. We have a 2-day-old baby here. My daughter just had surgery. Like, this is terrible service. We've been with you guys for like so long, over 20 years. y'all need to get it together. And then so they're like, the lady we talked to this time was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you have a 2-day-old baby and they didn't even send, you're on the highway, we're on the side of a highway, they didn't send like the CHP or anything. So she called the CHP to come and do like a wellness check on us. CHP comes, and we were just really, the highway we're on, it was like it's a 2-lane highway, 1 lane going another way, 1 lane going another way, and on the side it's like water, it's like swampy like water. But we felt so uncomfortable. We didn't want to take Kai out of the car seat because like this happens all the time where cars are parked on the road and people aren't paying attention and they hit the car. So I just was like, we need to stay in the car with our seatbelts on and make sure, or they hit the people on the side. So we need to make sure that we're all safe. So the police officer came and he's like, hey, there's like a McDonald's not too far away. Do you want me to drive you guys there with the baby and so you can be safe, you know? And we were like, yeah, actually, we would love that. We agree with the police officer and like, yes, please get us out of here. And plus we were hungry and, you know, we need to just get off the highway. It was getting dark. And so, yeah, Kai was 2 days old and he rode for the first time in the back of a police car. And I wasn't too happy about that because I'm like, what? Like, I don't want my son to be in the back of a police car. But we had to get out of there and he was doing us a huge favor. So we left the car. We got in the police car and we got everything. He was so helpful. He, you know, carried the car seat, carried him. Like I could barely walk. My mom helped me walk over there. So we get in the car, everything's good. And as soon as we get in the car ready to go, here comes the tow truck now pulling up. And now this time it's like going to like 8 o'clock. It's like 7 something. Tow truck pulls up and we're like, hey, whatever, here's everything. Do what you have to do, change the tire, and then come back and, you know, or tow it to the McDonald's, and then you can come back and just, we'll get it from there. So we leave, and while we're at McDonald's, we realize, wow, it's been from 3 o'clock when I last fed the baby right before we left the hospital, and now it's like 7:30. He hasn't ate in like almost 4 hours. He hadn't ate in like 4 hours. So he was on a feeding schedule where he was eating every 2 to 3 hours. So he was starting to cry and get fussy. I was like, oh my gosh, there was so much going on. I felt so bad. And then I was over here trying to breastfeed him, I was over here trying to nurse him at McDonald's. And while we're doing that, I see McDonald's, they're starting to pack up and put everything away. And I'm like, are you guys closing? And they're like, yeah, we close at 8. Okay, so now McDonald's is closing. While we're waiting at McDonald's, this tow truck driver shows up with our tires saying, oh, the tire didn't have air. I'm like, that's impossible because we made sure there was air in it before we left and went to the hospital because we wanted to make sure everything was good. He said that it didn't have air. So he tried to put the air in it. And then another thing, he comes and he just hands us this key, and it was like the metal part of the car key. He's like, oh, the key broke. And we're like, the key broke? So he said he couldn't turn the car. Maybe the wheel was locked and somehow he broke the key. And we're like, awesome. He said that was one of the reasons why it took him so long too. He had to spend so much time trying to pull it out of there. Just the metal part. So now that's done. Okay. So then we go, he tries to put the tire back on there. He said the tire wasn't taking air, so he would have to like tow us. And we're like, wow, you have to tow us all the way. Like we were still like at least like almost 2 hours away. You have to tow us 2 hours away, and it's like 8 o'clock at night, it's dark. And he's like, yeah. And then he started doing this like thing like, oh, but I don't know if I have gas. And like, it's like talk for if you know he's trying to ask for extra money. So we're like, really? So immediately I'm just like, all right, this guy's shady. And my mom's like, we have to go. We can't stay here. We just have to go with this guy. And I didn't want to go with him. But anyway, he said he was going to go get the big flatbed truck from his partner, whoever. And we were going to have to pay him and pay for gas to drive us all the way home. And then, well, first he would come get us at McDonald's. And I'm like, McDonald's is closing, so you better hurry up. And then he would take us back to go tow the car. So he does all that. He comes. We're sitting there kind of just like freaking out, but trying to stay calm. Now, one thing I would say, at the hospital after I had the C-section, they were like keeping me on meds like every 3 hours. And before we left, this nurse that we had that was like, she was an awesome nurse. she was like, hey, since you have a long ride home, I know you've only been taking half of the dose. She's like, I'm gonna recommend you take the full dose. It's just gonna help you relax more. I don't remember what this narcotic was, but it was a strong one. She's like, it's gonna help you relax more, and it's just gonna be a better ride for you. So luckily I did take the full dose, and that's honestly how I was so calm through this whole situation. And my mom was calm too, but I could tell she was also just as scared as I was, but she was staying calm to just be calm for me, you know, to help me out. I don't know, I might have to continue the story in the car because, no, let me just try and finish it here before I go. So now, my mom, this guy picks us up. We try to get in his tow truck. He didn't even get out to help us, and this tow truck was high. I had to like climb up the steps to get in there. Then my mom had to carry the police had been gone a long time, carry the car seat, get the car seat over, and I had the initial car seat I had for him is a Duna, and it's the car seat stroller, which was awesome, but it's just heavier than most car seats. It's like 16 pounds or something, and it's heavier to lift up when you can have a car seat that's like half the weight. So 16 pounds plus the 6-pound baby in there, it's a lot to lift high. So my mom got it in the car seat, and we're like, hey, is there like a middle, like a spot we can, the seatbelt wasn't working. You're just gonna watch me like this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm done with my hair, and I'm just gonna try and finish the story really quick. So where was I? Anyway, so the tow truck driver came and he was being shady. He wanted us to pay him to drive us home, and I already wasn't comfortable, but my mom was like, let's just get out of here, we need to go. So I tried to get in the tow, I did get in the tow truck, but then the back seat, there was something wrong with like the seatbelt. I don't know, and I was putting my baby in there in his car seat, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna ride 2 hours without him being like safely buckled. He was 2 days old. So we get in there, and the only part that had the right car seat, like the right seatbelt, was like behind the driver, and he was like a bigger guy, like very, very big. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, is there any way you can move your seat up so I can try and fit the car seat here? And he's like, no. He just said no. So we had to try and put the car seat like in the middle. It was hard, and I just was like, I told my mom, I'm not gonna do this. There's no way. So she's like, just calm down. We're gonna be able to, let's just go, let's make it home. So then we drive to go get my car where he was gonna tow it. And the guys, when we get there, I guess he left like the lights on and the light on inside, left like a door open, and the battery now died. The battery died. So then he's asking us if we know where the jumper cables are on his tow truck. And I'm just like, who is this person that AAA sent us? Because there's no way like I felt comfortable with him. And at that point, I stayed in his tow truck in the back seat with Kai, and my mom had to find where the jumper cables are for his truck, which they were in the front. And I'm like, how does she know that? You don't know that. Anyway, while I'm in the car, I just get this idea that maybe we need to just stay at a hotel and wait until, you know, have my dad come pick us up the next day. Because I had been talking to my dad, and my dad's like, I'm sending you an Uber so you can, you know, get out of there. And I was like, it's gonna be too much for us to ride in an Uber and all the way home. So once the tow truck guy came back, and mind you, when we were gonna leave with him, I'd already taken pictures of his license plate, sent it to my dad. Like, I don't trust this guy. But so when he came back, I said, you know what, forget it. Don't drive us all the way home. Just take us to this hotel that's just like 2 miles, not even 2 miles, like maybe a mile away. And we're gonna stay here overnight. So Kai's 2 days old. I look at you and you're like, you're so into the story. So Kai's 2 days old, and he's already been in the back seat of a police car. He's been in the back seat of a tow truck, and now he's going to spend the night at a hotel at 2 days old. So we get to the hotel. I was able to book a room online before we even got there, and everything went well. We're there. Kai's like fussy and hungry. I got to feed him a little bit at McDonald's, but he just was over everything now. And once we get there, you know, we had the guy just drop our car there, and so my dad would come the next day and just deal with that and bring us another car to drive. So we're at the hotel and everything's fine now because at least we're not in the street. But once we get in the room, and that's when Kai just decided, okay, it's now that he's really gonna show us what he can do with his screaming. So he just was crying and screaming. And that night, I just was like, I didn't know what was going on. I was telling my mom we had to go back to the hospital, and she's like, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. I ended up calling the advice nurse because I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, and he wouldn't go to sleep. And I'm a first-time mom, and this was just all too much for me. So anyway, we ended up, everything went fine. We stayed the night at the hotel. My mom was very helpful. I was so glad she was with me. And I got to sleep a little bit while she stayed up with Kai until he finally went to sleep. And we finally make it home. And really, like, barely anybody knew this story. I just told my mom, like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Whoever asks you, except for the people I already told, whoever asks you, just tell them we, got home yesterday. And that is pretty much it for that story. I just try to rush it. I'm, getting ready to go to the party. I have some visitors here. You're gonna see them in the vlog. Actually, she's sitting right here. She does. Can you say hi? Hi. So, yeah. So I'm gonna finish off that vlog. Also, it's a weekend vlog. And if you enjoy this story, and if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you see part 1. If you like the story and you just want to continue following along my story and my journey as a mother, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.